Om Nilambujasyamalakomalangam Sita Samaropita Vamadagam Panau Maha Sayakacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, who is very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, and he is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. The subtle meaning I have given to you before, and we continue with Ramcharitmanas, Balakanda, verse number 72. The story of Pārvatī Devī. Satī has become transformed into Pārvatī. That whole story has been highly allegorical. Satī is in every individual. Intellect plays the role of Satī. Not ordinarily. If intellect becomes deeply involved with love of God and comes to realize God is the only reality, that intellect has come to the state of Satī state. Cannot reconcile with Daksha, ego, principle, and sees Dakṣa-yajña. The entire world process is a Dakṣa-yajña, where everyone looking for prosperity and success according to ego's convictions. Ego is the Daksha. But in this Dakṣa-yajña, there is no place for Brahma, Vishnu and Śiva, especially Śiva. In other words, simple way to say that if you continue to live your life with righteousness, goodness, create good karmas, you will continue to come back, no matter how good karmas you have created. Because karmas give rise to their fruits in the world of time and space. And the world of time and space is endless illusion. So, when intellect within you comes to that understanding that in Dakṣa-yajña, in this world of pravritti, Śiva is not being given proper honor and respect, is not properly recognized. In the world of alpam, you don't recognize the value of bhuma. In the world of bhoga, you don't recognize the value of moksha. In the world of sakamya karma, sakamya, you don't recognize the value of nishkamya. You can look at it so many angles. And then Satī enters into fire and becomes self-immolated. That's what gives rise to Satī Pratha and all that, and I have explained to you that has been a kind of mental distortion. Sometimes great philosophical understandings, masses don't understand. They bring it down to very ordinary level. Take, for example, the statement, Striyaś-caritraṁ puruṣasya bhagyam daivo na janati kutah manushya. Whenever Hindu family has certain trouble, they blame it on women. And they give the quotation, Striyaś-caritraṁ, the wiles created by women. And the amazing destiny that awaits man. Even gods can't understand. Kutah manushya, how can a human being? The real meaning is totally different. It has nothing to do with man, woman. Striyaś-caritraṁ, Striya relates to triad, seer, seen, and sight. When you dream, three things have gone wrong. Your subject, the dream subject is not you. The dream world is not you. And the resulting experiences of pleasure and pain, they don't relate to you. But all the dream is deluding you. That's called Striyaś-caritraṁ. And that Striyaś-caritraṁ continues. The soul is Purusha, being constantly deluded by these three illusions of seer, seen, and sight. So nobody can imagine all the implications of how this delusion goes on operating. That's called Striyaś-caritraṁ. Purushasya bhagyam. The soul within you is Purusha. Puri is your personality, mind, body complex is a kind of a city. The city is ruled by the self, and that therefore the name is Purusha, which means all souls are Purusha. And the reality of every soul is absolute self, Brahman, the absolute Purusha. Just give you a sample of. So, Satī Devi enters into fire. Intellect enters into intuitional transformation. Fire relates to tattva-jnana, the fire of knowledge. Not ordinary knowledge, intuitional knowledge. But now, as a result, the same understanding process is no longer intellectual. That process has been born as Pārvatī, the daughter of Himālaya, and all this is allegorical. Himālaya is presented as father, having the profound potential. And the wife of Himālaya is known as Mainā. Mainā relates to beautiful bird. And if you simply understand the letter Mainā, Ma is Na, negation of ego. So, divine potential as Himālaya and humility incarnate Mainā, they give birth to Pārvatī. Same Satī incarnates in that family. She is known as Pārvatī, who is Parvat's daughter. Another name of her is Uma. Om turned around. Uma now relates to intuitive intellect, and this is the story of intuitive intellect from spiritual point of view. Now, following the storyline, because story creates its own suspense and its own spicing. The spicing of the story has been that Pārvatī Devī, while she is still young, Nārada comes to look into her astrological condition, and Nārada foretells about Pārvatī, that she has all wonderful virtues, etc., but it's always term but comes in. She is going to be, it is written that she will be marrying someone who does not possess anything. His looks are beyond human concepts. And he puts on garland of skulls. Only ghosts and pishachas walk around with him. And all the descriptions are descriptions of Brahman, known as Mahadeva Śiva. And then, of course, the storyline, the mountain god and his wife Mainā, they were extremely distressed. But then Nārada gives consolation that all those defects that he had described, they also relate to Lord Śiva. But in him, those defects are profound virtues. Samarth ke nahi doshad gosain. That point I have explained to you before. And therefore, the end result of all that, both began to handle the idea that Pārvatī will marry Śiva. Mother was not reconciled with it. Pārvatī, seeing this situation, she relates a dream she had to her mother. And from there we are starting. Sunahi mātu main dīkha as sapan sunāvaṁ tohi sundar gaura suvipravar as upadese mohi. Mother, listen. I have experienced a dream. In that dream, a very handsome person, Sundar Gaur Varn, with a shining complexion that's pure white, that's representing Śiva himself. In my dream, that Brahman gave me this instruction. Karahi jai tapushel kumari, Nārada kaha so satya vichari, Matu piti puniyah mat bhava, Tapu sukha prada dukha dosh nasava. O Pārvatī, that dream person, the divine person in dream is telling her that whatever Nārada has said, consider it to be real. But your parents are not in agreement with this. In order to resolve this problem, O Pārvatī, practice tapas, austerity. Tap is the giver of happiness and remover of pain. Now try to understand the term tapas, tapa. Tapa is that movement by which you remove threefold tapas. Tapas are miseries, subjective misery, adhyatmic tap, miseries coming from the outer world, that's adhibhautik, and acts of God, that's called adhyatmic. There are threefold miseries. And soul continues to experience these miseries from birth to birth. But by allowing your mind to undergo spiritual enrichment to such an extent that mind dissolves, this whole process is called tapas, ordinarily translated as austerity. And the storyline, it is described in a very crude manner. If you adopt the crude manner of austerity, it will not last even for 2 or 3 days. Because how it is described? One desires, one develops the sankalpa, I will do austerity. Immediately you see the person standing on one foot. The rain, sunshine, breeze, cold weather all come and person won't move, won't tremble. That's austerity. But Upanishads have made that clear in different contexts. In one of the Upanishads, when the statement is made, realizing Brahman is the goal of life. And Brahman can be realized by austerity. Bhrigurvai Varuni. And the disciple asks the Guru, how can I attain liberation? How can I attain Brahman? The Guru says, meditate upon it, that from which all this has proceeded, that by which all this is sustained, into which all this dissolves. That's Brahman. And the disciple goes, practices all this, goes on practicing reflection about the source of all this that has been created. And he comes to conclusion that Aham Brahmāsmi. Food is Brahman. Matter is Brahman. And he comes to tell the Guru, I have come to realize Brahman. What is Brahman? Annam Brahmeti Vajana. Food is Brahman. And the Guru says, not yet. Continue your austerity. He goes again doing austerity and comes back with the conclusion. Pranam Brahmeti Vijana. Then he goes again into the austerity, comes to the conclusion. Vijnanam Brahmeti Vijana. Mind, intellect, set is Brahman. Finally, it goes beyond Anandamaya Kosha. And he realizes Brahman. So all this process is described as austerity. Tapas. Tapas is application of mind towards the truth. And the glory of tapas. So now, coming to the Ramayana context, Pārvatī Devī is telling the parents that divine personality has told her that whatever Nārada has foretold will be perfectly real. Tap is the giver of the joy, the real success. Dukha dosha nasava is the destroyer of pain, sorrow, misery. Dosh relates to vikaras. Vikaras are modifications, just for your information. 6 vikaras are mentioned in the scriptures. Janam, the soul is born. That's the first stage. Next, the baby is given a name, Asti. Now the baby begins to grow, it's called Vriddhi, growing stage. Now comes a stage of a transition from boyhood to youth. That's called Viparinam. And then after a while, no fooling after 40, comes aging process called Apakshaya. And finally, death, Vinash. These are called vikaras. Austerity, tapas, is the destroyer of all these, because all these don't relate to your innermost self. Tapabal Rachaye Panchu Prapanchu Vidhata, Tapabala Vishnu Sakal Jagatrata, Tapabala Sambhu Karahi Sanghara, Tapabala Sheshu Dharai Mahibhara. By the strength of tapas, austerity, Brahma creates this world. By the austerity, by the force of austerity, strength of austerity, Vishnu, Lord Vishnu sustains this world. And it is by the force of austerity that Lord Śiva is able to wipe away all this world, destruction of the world process. It is because of the tapabal, the strength of austerity, that cosmic snake, Sheshanag, cosmic mind, sustains this whole universe. The implication is all greatness and glory that you see is based on mind that is communing with God, with Brahman. And that's the highest level of austerity. The highest austerity is the mind flowing on to Brahman. Aham Brahmāsmi. Tap adhara sab srishti bhavani, karahi jai tapu asajiye jani, sunat bachan vismita bahatari, sapan sunayav giriya kari. O Bhavani, O Uma, this entire universe is sustained on the basis of tapas. Another way of saying, the whole world is sustained. All the souls, they are evolving through mind. And mental concentration is the basis, the nature, general nature of tapas. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Mind is the cause of bondage and release. Therefore, all mental process becomes austerity. When Pārvatī told her mother about her dream, the mother called Himālaya, the mountain spirit, Himālaya, and related to him Pārvatī's dream. Mātu piti bahuvidhi samujhai, chali uma tapahita harashai, priya parivara pita arumata, vikal bhaye vikal sukha avana bata. So Uma proposed that she will be practicing intense austerity for pleasing Śiva, to be wedded to Śiva. The parents were not still ready to accept it. They felt miserable to be separated from their daughter. And the mother's concept was still more involved with moha. How could she marry someone who is absolutely propertyless and so many less? Ved Sira Muni Aayi tab sabahi kaha samujhai, Pārvatī mahima sunat rahe prabodhahi pai. Then a sage, Vedashira, came and explained to them about the glory of Pārvatī and glory of Śiva. And then they became well reconciled to this idea that Pārvatī will go and practice intense austerity. Now the story as it follows, if you take it literally, it will be impossible. It's completely allegorical. Urdhari uma pranapati charana, jai vipin jalagi tapu karana, ati sukumara natanu tapajogu, Pati pada sumeri bhajasajayu sababhogu. Now the story of Pārvatī is a story of viveka buddhi, intellect that has become intuitional. That intellect begins to show the difference between the self and the not self, difference between real and the unreal. And that differentiating type of awareness, that's called viveka buddhi. And Uma or Pārvatī represents that viveka buddhi. You must realize that is the central purpose of yoga. Soul must join with viveka buddhi in order to attain enlightenment. And the same story becomes extended in Rama and Sita. Sita is viveka buddhi. The same story is extended in Mahabharata. Draupadi is viveka buddhi. Otherwise, the entire Mahabharata will be extremely meaningless. The whole Mahabharata was fought for Draupadi's hair. That hair refers to vasanas. Patipad sumari tajev sababhogu. Now her movement on the spiritual path commenced with sumiran, smaran, mentally adoring Lord Śiva. Ati sukumarna tanu tapayogu. In the beginning, every aspirant is brittle. Try to understand the subtle meaning behind it. Otherwise, literally, it means tender-bodied. And now, how can you practice austerity? Uma is described coming from the royal family, never seen the harshness of sun and rain. Same way Sita is described. But love of Lord Rama makes Sita intensely powerful. She endures everything beyond imagination. Same way, love of Śiva and practice of austerity enables Pārvatī to become stronger and stronger. Nityanavacharana upaja uparaga, visari deha tapahi manulaga, sambat sahasamula phalakhaye, sadhu khaima satavarasha gamaye. Now, if sadhana is in the positive direction, nitya nava charana upaja anuraga, you go on developing increasing attraction, spiritual attraction to God. Let me explain this point. In worldly objects, things that you love results in attachment, raga. When raga develops, the joy of love diminishes. Your mind is concerned how to protect the object, how to own the object, how to secure the object. You don't have the joy. Joy diminishes and the burden increases. But when mind is moving towards love of God, burden decreases, joy increases. So, if you are joyous today 80%, you will be joyous tomorrow 85%, and next day 90%, and so forth. All this has to be understood from broad point of view. If this mathematics doesn't occur in your daily life, don't worry about it. It is going to occur in a subtle way, because the spiritual progress is not always within the view of your conscious mind. Now, Sambat Sahasamula Phalakhaye, for 1,000 years, she practiced austerity, eating roots and fruits. It's completely allegorical. Two types of allegory. Time is used as in an allegorical manner. If you accomplish highly qualitative attainment, then the description will be you pass through 1,000 years. Simple point to understand that time description is in the realm of Maya. So though this described in the storyline, thousands and thousands of years have passed, and she still comes back young and beautiful bride for Śiva. So its passage of time simply implies intensity of spiritual involvement. And shifting the diet, that implies moving away from tamasic food to rajasic food to sattvic food, and going even beyond. When we said food, that also is not so easy to understand. Food is called ahar. Ahar is all your intakes. You may be perfectly progressive and scientific in the matter of taking food. But if your mental ahar, mind is picking up only fearful thoughts and holding on to them, then your ahar is still defective. And in that ahar also, tamasic ahar, rajasic ahar, sattvic ahar. Physically, figure out the three modes of nature and move towards sattva. Similarly, move towards sattvic thoughts. Therefore, be supported by japa, meditation, satsanga. Blended with all this, do your duties in daily life. Then automatically you will be taking sattvic ahar. How long? For 50,000 years. Don't think of years, think of intensity. कुछ दिन बाद भोजन वारी बतासा, किए कठिन कुछ दिन उपवासा, बेलपाती मही परई सुखाई, तीनी सहस संबत सोई खाई. Some days she passed just on air and water. Some days she did terrible form of fasting, nirahar. Some days belapatras, the leaves of bilva tree that comes in triplets, and those leaves that were dried up, she would pick up those dry bilva leaves for 3,000 years. Again, try to understand now. Bilva leaves are tried, seer, seen, and sight. And your as your vasana begins to dwindle, wane, these 3 leaves begin to become like dry leaves. You don't want to be there. Stay with that state with great intensity. Puni parihare sukhane uparana, umahinamu taba bhayau aparana. And then eventually she left even those dry leaves. First stage, turn the 3 aspects of the world process tasteless, and then transcend them all. So her name became Aparana. Dekhi umahi tapakhin sarira. The result of all this austerity, her body became very thin. Body wouldn't even exist if it were literal. Khina sarira implies the notion, I am the body. The body identity is completely eliminated. Your intellect goes on dealing with the body. The intuitive intellect looks at the body as illusion. When that state has come, it is now the figurative description that Pārvatī has become thin. And at that stage, Brahmagira bhaya gagan gabhira, a deep, profound voice emanated from the heavens, Brahmavani. And that relates to your voice of conscience. In every individual, when you come to a higher level, or even ordinarily, your conscience guides you. But when you are in experiencing something profound, the voice, as it were, comes like a thunder. Allegorical, Akashvani. Gagan Gabhira. Bhayo Manoratha Sufalatava Sunugiri Raja Kumari Pariharu Dushaha Klesha Sab Abamilihahi Tripurari. O daughter of the mountain, all your desires are fulfilled. The word is used, manorath. Mind is like a chariot. Man, rath is chariot. If chariot comes in order, there is a feeling of profound relaxation. If you are in a chariot or in a car, and the driver is a drunk driver, or the car itself is not technically perfect, there will be absolute unrest. That's the predicament of the masses, and all souls have to work with the chariot of their personality. If the chariot comes in order, sense of joy and relaxation enters your mind. So every desire, therefore, is manaha kamana. It emanates from your mind. And when the mano kamana is fulfilled, there is a sense of rest. And in fulfilling your mano kamana, your desire, what did you do? You adjusted your horses, controlled your reins, and so forth. So that celestial voice continues. Asatapu kakahu nakina bhavani, bhaye aneka dhira muni jnani, abu uradharahu brahma barabani, satya sada sansata suchijani. O Bhavani, Bhava is the world process. Bhavani is the source of the entire world process. the mother of the universe. There have been great saints and sages, but no one has done such difficult austerity as you have performed. Unparalleled. The celestial voice said that now, Pariharu Dusa Kalesha. With this, I will be done. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnas Purnamadaya Purnameva Vachishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.